invited Dave Arnold to chair for us today because both Clancy and Joy are absent today. So.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
And I think because we have an official anchor location and everybody is invited to be here at the anchor location, we don't have an official statement to read.
Okay, that's good.
So we can just kind of get started with item 1 is just further evaluation. But let me jump in really quickly before we get to that with calendaring. Lori Urquiaga brought up to me that if we continue to have it on Thursday, the third Thursday at noon, she won't be able to ever join us in person. And we just wanted to throw out the possibility of having it on the fourth Thursday of the month to see if that presents any calendaring problems. And maybe rather than going over it in this meeting and trying to schedule, which is impossible, I'll send out an email later today just asking about the possibility of a fourth Thursday meeting. That would actually work better for us as staff because the third Thursday is also Board of Adjustment. So we don't have those very frequently, but when we do, it can be a little busy. So I'll send out an email later this afternoon. If you can just reply to me on your availability for the fourth Thursday, that'll be great.
It would be better for me.
Oh, good.
So there's my feedback.
Okay, good. That was quick and easy. Perfect.
I have company-wide meetings on the week of the third Wednesday. So it's like half of the months. So that's why I was late, because I just finished a company-wide meeting and rushed over here. So I could avoid that if it went to the fourth Thursday.
Perfect. Okay, so I have Dave Arnold's feedback already. So
and mine
and Laurie's. So
me too.
And Mitz is good.
Fourth Thursday is okay.
I'm good with either.
Okay, that was so quick and easy. Thank you. Good job. And Dave Harding, thanks for joining us. We also, in the room here with us, we have Dixon Holmes from the mayor's office. We have Rob Hunter from Public Works, me and Melissa from our office as well. And Javin is on the Zoom call. So.
Okay, I think you all received an email from Clancy. I think it was last Friday when he told us he couldn't attend. And he suggested a different method of assigning, of ranking the list. So he suggested that we rank each one. We go through each one and we put them in rank order. And then maybe even let that rank order be the thing and they add up across the thing and use it like a golf score. So would you like to continue to rate it? I'd like to get feedback and we would like to continue to rate it on the, I think we're a -2 to 2.
Yeah.
Is our current scale. I'd like to get feedback on trying to put these projects in rank order in each. So if we did that, my thought is we go through each one and type in a rank order. You can then sort by column and we can look at rank order in each column.
Yeah.
Or
that's
we can put it back in the original sort order. So I just wanted to get feedback. Mitzo and Laurie, do you have any feedback? And David Hardy, do you have any feedback? Any of you? Would you like to stay with this method or take Clancy's suggestion?
I think Clancy's suggestion would work as far as doing one at a time. It's to rank order them. I would need to be able to see more of them at once, like the whole list at one time. And the way that this is laid out, you only get 7 or 8 of them on the screen at a time. So that would make it hard. But if we had a list that was like just one line, that would be relatively easy to rank order.
But rank them in the certain group. I forgot the.
So prioritizing pedestrian safety, we rank everything on whether it's pedestrian safety. And we would say that, does the leading pedestrian interval, is that more or less safe for pedestrians than the parking signs? So that would make the second one number 1 and the switch out parking signs lower, but then it would just be really hard for me to track if I could not see almost the whole list in one screen.
Yeah, if you want to rank that way, you need a whole list. But if you use a -2 to 2, then
Then we could go
individual
down
can
this
be
way.
discussed. Yeah.
So should we just keep
David, do you have any feedback for us?
Sure. If you ask, I'm going to share. I'm happy to take you guys' recommendations, however you come up with it. I'm sure the rest of the council as well. The ranking, maybe if Clancy was here, or I didn't actually read his email. I must have missed it, but there might be some positives to it. But I have concerns about it. What happens if you have multiple that you all kind of feel it's about the same? And so you have like 1 1 and then 5 2s and then 1 3, but now the difference between the top and the bottom is just 2. And if you're then summing across, and there's another one that you actually rank them 1 through 8, now that starts getting messy. And then also, if you might have 3 right in a row that are really close, but they're all still separated by 1 point, and then maybe there's a big gap. And you're like, oh, well, these are bad, but they're also, but there's still only one, one separates these two, and then one number separates these two. I'm good. I have concerns just about how well that would function. I kind of like the 2 - 2, but again, however you guys want to proceed.
Okay, so taking that feedback, how about if you, the other thing is just doing them 1 column at a time instead of trying to do all columns. Is everyone okay with that? 1 column at a time?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so can you then take column E and make it so that it's only using 1 line and make it longer? And then you could hide the other columns that we're not using. Yeah,
Okay.
like then we can do what Laurie's asking and get more on the screen. So if you could just make E bigger so that none of them are, and keep going until they're a single line or whatever. And then you'll have to grab them all and make the heights smaller, the row height.
Mm.
I'm so Excel unsavvy. Melissa, come do this.
Yeah. I mean, they change the height of only the project instead of the top.
Or if you do it over on, you might be able to just
Doesn't-
click on the little bars between the 30 and the 31, and it might resize.
See if we go like this.
Then I think
Yeah,
you would
up to that point.
click right there. Okay.
There you go.
All right, we got a little bit more on there for you, Laurie.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah,
Now we'll
yeah.
hide these. We'll hide those. That's what you want?
Yeah. And now you can keep sorting F. So after we could do the -2 too, and we could get a semblance of ranking order by just sorting that based on the 2 to the -2. They'll put the 2s at the top and the -2s at the bottom. And that
Yes.
might help us realize, are these all 2s? Are these all 1s? So how about if we take his feedback that way? We'll do this row, we'll go through, do the 2 -2s, and then we can sort it and see if we like the relative placements.
Sounds good.
Mm.
Yes. Although within 1 year or the 1 to 5 years,
Separate.
that'll get thrown off if we do a global sort. I'm okay with just saying, let's do the +2 -2 and kind of figure out
Well,
from
we
there.
can sort just those. We just grab them and, do you know how to do that?
Yeah, they could. So
We can
let's go
grab
back.
each section and we can sort them within their sections.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the 2 -2 and
So scrolling back up to row 3 or
Mhm.
whatever it
put
is.
all of the within 1 years. Okay, so this is pedestrian safety.
Mhm.
Yes. I don't know that the parking posts have anything to do with pedestrian safety. They don't hurt it, but they don't help it. So I give that a 0.
Checks already done.
So the check marks are already completed.
We could probably, we
Oh, that's
could
right.
probably just take those
So how
off.
about if we just hide them?
Yeah.
Can you just do the D?
Yeah.
Click D and you can just turn off.
I'm sorry.
Click the D, click the D,
On the column D.
Oh, there we
click
go.
that, and then.
Yeah, but if they're completed, we don't want them.
Oh, I guess you have to turn on all of the you turn on the, you gotta do it. So we turn on
Well, I can-
the sorting on all of the columns, then you click on it, we can just have it filter out the check marks.
Just put the
Oh, we did. I
filter at the top.
I could just type, well, yeah. Okay.
Hi, Jim.
If you go across the top and
There's a
turn on
sort-
the,
there's- On the ribbon, there's a sorting filter.
Yeah.
You just
Oh,
check
that's what you're
mark.
saying,
Yeah,
just to put all these on top.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get what you're saying.
you can have 10 people driving or 1 people driving and 10 people telling you how to drive.
That's never an issue.
That's not an issue?
Never cause complications.
It's not giving you the option.
Give me the, yeah. Probably have to go even further up here. Let me see. Well, if I do that, yeah. So that's not, Excel is not gonna let me sort it by this one unless I go all the way to the top, and then it'll get rid of the.
Oh, you want the whole row.
But I can just, what I can do is I can just cut and paste.
You could just go through and hide each one. Select them all and click hide. All of them with check marks. Just go through and select the rows that have check marks. There's no way to do it. And just hide.
So, yeah, there we go.
Okay. So we finished, so we just need to do the, oh no, so we're at install an entry arch. Well, I think that impacts it because that sends a message that,
Please continue. You've arrived.
yeah, you've arrived, slow down.
Yeah, I think that could be even a 2. If it is very clearly identifying the area as a pedestrian, but it would be at least a 1.
Yeah, I would say a 2, but engineering wise, I don't know. Is there any evidence in a city that doing something like this would slow? It definitely gives an indication to the driver.
Well, I think it would definitely send that message of pedestrian prioritization.
Yeah.
Whether or not you can empirically prove that, I'm not
You
sure.
have to do it again before and after, and I don't know how much data exists. And then there's a bunch of communities that obviously have those in Utah and elsewhere.
But again, this is also how you as members of the committee feel. I mean, you know,
I think it would make a difference because I think it would change the way that it's viewed. We have this goal of it being a pedestrian zone. It's a step. I would vote 2. Mitsu?
Which one? Not is that the creating pedestrian?
Entry arch.
Entry arch. So putting an entry arch at the beginning of.
Oh, so you're in 1 to 5 years now.
Yes, so we're on
Okay.
line 12.
Right, we're at line 12, install an entry arch.
can you all see this, the screen?
Maybe 1.
So we
I'd
got
say
2.
2 myself, but
Okay, so 2 2s and a 1.
And then Jim's here too.
Oh, Jim? Yeah, you're here. What do you think?
We're putting,
Oh, so it's 2 to -2. So 2 and 1 means it makes a difference. 0 means neutral. A -1 means -2 means it actually might harm in that particular column. That criteria.
put it as a 1.
So we have 2 2s and a 2 1s. So should we do a 1.5?
Sure.
Okay.
Install a high visibility or 3D crosswalks.
why are these not recommended?
So exactly what is the engineering solution? What does high visibility 3D mean?
So specifically the 3D, excuse me, the 3D crosswalks is what is discouraged by FHWA, and it's because of the distraction. It's the coming up on it and saying, I don't know what's, if you make it too 3D and too much of an optical illusion, then it'll throw people off.
So what does 3D mean? What physically? I don't know what that means.
It's putting in lines or something that makes it look like it's raised. Some
right,
places have done
right.
that. Not actually raising
It's an
crosswalks,
illusion.
making it look like,
Illusion that
yeah,
someone-
making it look like it is.
From the
It's been working in India.
Correct. From the driver's perspective,
Yeah.
right?
But if the driver is not accustomed to it, he may be surprised, optical illusion plus that gives an anxiety to the driver. Of course, that's the purpose. And
Yeah.
so the driver will slow down.
Yeah,
So-
but in terms of overall high visibility, I mean, that's the reason why it's that it has the treatment that it has on there right now, is to bring more awareness. It's a nicer aesthetic, bring more awareness to it now. So there's nothing against the high visibility. It was the 3D crosswalks in particular that FHWA discourages.
Okay, so we have down below, we have improved lighting in mid-block crosswalks. And we have flashing beacons. So my vote on this one is a -2. Laurie, or?
I think they're two different things. High visibility without 3D, I would say is a +1. But 3D shaking up drivers would be minus.
For safety side, yeah. But
Yeah.
I was wondering if this 3D crosswalks is already in MUTCD, Manual of Traffic Uniform Control Devices.
No, doing like we're talking about, like an optical illusion, it's not in the METCD.
Oh, okay. So it's an experiment in a way. Now, if you want to do this, you need to have this campaign saying that this testing starts first, rather than just putting you might want to have this testing in the field. I mean, using Center Street and see how it happens. Need a two-step because it's a new method.
Yeah, I still think we're talking about two different things because high
Right.
visibility and 3D are not synonyms.
Yeah. So
Uh,
high visibility, yes.
So do we want to
3D, a bit of concern. Just
you do
like
Yes.
Okay, we'll add
Like I
another
said.
row for install high visibility and just make this one 3D crosswalks. So for
Okay.
3D crosswalks, what is your, I'm a -2,
-2.
-2, Laurie,
I would go -1, but I'm okay with -2.
and Mitsu? Just on the 3D optical illusion?
Yes.
that one, install high visibility crosswalk. The
Oh,
straight
just the-
one.
Just
Yeah,
the 3D
I
crosswalk.
would put that too. But 3D, bit of concern. So unless we test it, it may be, like Lori says, -1.
Okay, so let's say line 13 is a 2 for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's me too. However we can,
Okay, and
done.
line 14 would be, I'm okay with -2. If we want to,
Contribute
that-
to the pedestrian safety.
yeah, I'm not sure that if it confuses or the driver, I think it would be harmful.
Yeah, but it's education. It's like starting a roundabout here.
Yeah, but
you
you
need
always,
to
you have
educate.
people, you have to plan for the worst case, which is the person who's not familiar with it.
Mm.
And if it, so I would say, personally, I'd say -1, but I'm okay with -2 since two people believe that.
-2, I think it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay,
Rumble strips.
like just as you get
So,
into the.
Yeah, so this is kind of where the arches are too, I imagine, or at least the one on the west. It's when you enter it, there's a rumble strip in the road, 500 west, and another one at 200 east.
Mhm.
Is that the rumble strips? So you just feel a little vibration? Is that
Like
what
the
it's in here?
cobblestone kind?
Well,
We could
they
do
have
it.
those ones on the side of the road. That's
Right.
generally when you say a rumble strip, isn't that what you all usually refer to them as?
Yeah, so we could do, it's something that will cause a vibration. We could do a different type of treatment, but I mean, the bare minimum would be just the etching or etching into the road to create the feel. We could do it in a couple of different ways, but that's the overall intent of this line.
And you
is
wanted to
make
go
a vibration as you're
across
going through. They bring more awareness.
It's going to go fully across the lane. So no matter where the car's driving, it's going to be felt.
Right, right.
Correct.
It's like the rumble strip just before work zone begins, on the freeway to
Yes.
alert the people. So the same effect.
So I would say that that's a 1.
People will find it annoying.
Yeah, but we are thinking about the pedestrian safety.
People will ask, why did my car just shake initially?
Yeah, but
So there will be an element of confusion there.
true, but the criterion is whether it's effective for pedestrian safety and comfort.
So the only place this is currently used is sides of roads. Do we have an example of this being used for this application of?
Well,
Because it's to get your attention as a driver.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
swerving off the
UDOT
road,
actually
realize
uses it.
what you just did. What would I, as a driver, what would I think?
there are other applications. Mitsu brought it up where you enter work zones and it's at the same location, so it's bringing awareness at the same time that you have a sign telling you what it is you're supposed to do. It's just making sure people don't, making sure people don't miss. They hit the rumble strip. They're like, okay, what's going on? And then they've
You
got
look up
signs
and there's
saying,
something
yeah,
that you
something to
connect
see.
with.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've
So
seen it done at the
I think
entry.
if the rumble strip can
Like
help
a cobblestone
help
application.
achieve the reduction of the
And
speed
so
down
you
to
have that
15 miles
vibration
per hour.
Oh, I'm going into a different place.
So we actually have purchased temporary rumble strips. It's you put them 3 in succession, and it's actually a little bit of a bump, but it's to give the same type of feel. So this is something that we have tested out on Slate Canyon, and a few intended to get with the 1450 East neighborhood and try some things out on their street. So we have a way to test this out. We probably propose to do the same
So
thing.
in general, is
is
it a traffic calming strategy?
Yeah.
Is that what it fits into?
Yep.
So in your test so far, what kind of signage have you used?
So we put it on Slate Canyon. We put it next to the flashing 25-mile-per-hour speed sign that's right there.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do it on 1450 East, what we've talked as you enter into the approach for a traffic circle, a temporary traffic circle that we would try out there. It's just bringing more awareness to where if you're not already, if somebody's not already slowing down, it just gives them an extra bump to give them more of a reminder of, hey, you're supposed to be driving a little bit slower here. If we did it on Center Street, I could see us doing it like that. That would be the intent is whether or not we do the arch, it's the switch from the what is it, 35 miles an hour, I think on UDOT's portion to the 15 through the downtown area. We put it right there, right before the initial 15-mile-per-hour speed signs, just to bring more awareness as you're entering that zone.
Okay, with that discussion, I'm just going to make a proposal for the 3 of you. How about if we make it the same as our entry arch, because that's where it goes? And we say 1.5 for the rumble strip, and it's installed in conjunction with the entry arch. Jim,
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
go ahead, Jim.
I do have one caveat. I like Robert's thought. Is it possible to, rather than putting rumble strips, that you could have the roadway in the pedestrian zone entirely or partially cobblestones, so that you have something that looks aesthetically nice, but doesn't have these strips that run across the street that cause the. So you're alerting the driver that this is a different kind of zone. I don't know, I'm just thinking.
I mean, could we do that? We could. That would be exceptionally expensive to do it that entire,
What
block stretch.
What if you just did the crosswalk?
So that's what. So the crosswalk, especially, I guess our concern is that to do something that would create, we could do a different treatment in the crosswalk, and we could do something that would make you rumble, but we wouldn't want to put the more rumbly thing in a crosswalk where, for blind or handicap or it becomes more of an inconvenience.
Strollers.
to use it.
Yeah.
You're talking about putting kids in strollers through some sort
Right,
of.
stroller or something like that. So
Right.
where we have talked about doing it, we have talked about doing it right before a crosswalk, at the edge of the crosswalk. But yeah, it could be done with a cobble or different, different roadway treatment that creates that same rumble field. Yes.
Okay, so the proposal 1.5, the same as the arch, Laurie and Mitsu?
I'm good with that.
1.5. Yeah, I give 2. I mean, when this is combined with the advanced warning, like someone mentioned that 600 west, for example, eastbound, 50 miles per hour ahead. And then when the driver comes past the 500 west, boom, rumble strip, remind him again.
Right.
So
Okay, the next
1.5
one-
is okay. I give 2.
So I'm trying to understand this next one. Is this when people are on 100 north, they have a protected left to get onto 500 west so they can get back down on center? Can you explain that? Can you explain that to all 4 of us, what it means?
Protected left turns along the detour route.
I'm assuming this is we're routing people up to 100 north and then we're bringing them back down.
I think so.
Is this just
I think we already have a left protected phase for eastbound
I
at
think that's just gonna
500
happen
west.
anyway, isn't it?
Right now we don't. Right now it's permissive lefts. So
Is that right?
on coming, I believe so. Coming in from 100 west, or excuse me, 100 north onto 500 west. I
Right
think
now
is
it's, oh, that one's open. It's 200 that's closed.
200 east right now. Doesn't.
Okay, so 100. Okay, so it's not.
I don't think neither of them have protected left turns.
So this one is there too, because we hope that there will be more traffic there.
Right. So it's to make it an easier flow back onto the detour route. So if you're coming down Center Street and you hit 500 west and you want to divert up to 100 north, you have that double protected left turn.
Right.
But if you're
left
coming
turn,
down
yeah.
100 north back, and want to get back over to Center Street
You
to
don't.
continue west, you don't have a protected left turn right now.
Well, yeah, in that sense, yeah, that's a
Okay, so I
protected
think,
left turn to turn left
let me-
onto
let me ask a
Center
question.
Street East, right?
And then I'll
Yeah, that-
for all of our opinions. So,
That's
so the whole intent
attractive
here is to
for-
make it easy for people to take this other route.
Correct.
To go on 100
Point
north
affect
at
pedestrian
7
safety.
blocks.
right.
Is it something that would make sense from a traffic point of view? Will
Yeah.
you do this anyway in time or?
Well, yeah, as soon as we had enough volume, it's typically a volume, based warrant. And so when it hit that volume, we'd use it anyways. But this is just more of we could do it sooner, even before it, just to make it easier. And then hopefully then we do get the volume on there.
Okay,
So-
Jim, you start. What do you think?
I think it's 2.
Okay, Laurie?
Yeah, the detour road is a 2, so improving that would be there.
Okay, Mitsu?
This one, for pedestrian safety wise, not necessarily 2, but for the driver's convenience, definitely it will be 2.
Well, if getting cars to take 100 north instead of Center Street is a
in that
pedestrian
sense,
benefit.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, in that sense, yeah. Maybe, 1.5 is fine with me.
Okay, I would be a 2. So we have 3, so I guess we rounded to 2.
Okay. And then I know that Dave Harding and both Dave Harding and Javin Weaver had questions.
Oh, okay, go. I didn't notice that. I was focusing on the bottom ones there. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. I just, I wanted to mention, let's see, yesterday or the day before I was there, and the left turn lane headed east on Center Street just before 5th West. The left turn lane was back probably close to a full block, whereas the two, when they experience that, they're much more likely to take Center Street rather than bump up to First North. So, I mean, it sounds like we may be, and I don't know, maybe that was an unusual circumstance, but we may be hitting those justified numbers soon. But I agree, anything we can do to prioritize and make as convenient as possible getting traffic up to First North, and making that the simpler choice, the more convenient choice than trying to traverse Center Street, I think will be a good thing.
Well, and to let you know, that's one of the ones that we took within 1 year that already had a check mark. So we're already working with UDOT. They're doing a study of changing that signal timing specifically to make it easier. It's kind of instead of focusing on based off where people are going today, making it the highest use, it's what can you do to encourage people to get up to First North. We already have a check mark because we're already in discussions. They're already working on that. So
It may be worth thinking about maybe even making that 3 protected left turn lanes going off of Center Street to 500 West, and then make one of them a mandatory right turn, so that you would have, as you're coming east, you would have 3 lanes to turn left, with 2 lanes possibly then turning right, and one of them being a mandatory right turn. If that makes sense.
I think we'd have to, I'm trying to remember on the newest cross section, I think we'd have to add in, right, the updates to 500 West. I should probably know that off the top of my head, and I apologize. I don't think there's 3 lanes right now.
Not enough lanes.
If they're not 3 lanes, then that doesn't work. But if there are, it seems to me 500 West is wider, but maybe not at that spot. So, okay.
Okay, the next 2 are about crosswalks. First one, improved lighting. So that would be making sure the crosswalks are lit really well. The other one is, I would imagine, side of the road flashing beacons. Right. So let's do the improved lighting of the mid blocks first.
We're talking street lighting.
Yeah, so this way, I imagine this is a street light right above the crosswalk, so you can see the crosswalk really well at night. That's popping compared to what's around. I'm a 2 on that one.
And hopefully more pedestrian height rather than an automobile height.
Yes.
2.
I would give both of those a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me talk. I'm mixed on the flashing beacons because it becomes street clutter for the experience. There's these Christmas tree lights going off all year round at night.
So that we have a column for aesthetic.
Yeah, I agree, but again, as I compare that again, well, I guess we have other columns, right?
Yep.
Right, we have the column for aesthetics, so we
So if
can.
we're just thinking about pedestrians,
So Rob, are these like always flashing or vehicle accentuated or pedestrian accentuated?
Push button.
Okay, so like a hawk.
It's what we have in front of the rec center.
okay, I'm a 2.
Those
So I
exact
think it
same.
was 2s
That's
across the
what I'm
board.
talking about.
West, Center Street.
Because I realized we have another one that's aesthetics, right?
Yes.
No, 6 West Center Street is the overhead. We're talking in front of the rec center where it's off to the side and in the median. So it's
Okay, so you have it on a ped button?
you have it on a ped button, yeah.
And a 18-second or a 12-second timer.
Depends on how far you're crossing, but yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we're at 2.
2.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we have here? You want to scroll up and see what we got here? Okay.
Variable message signs to warn drivers of oncoming slow speeds.
Are we talking the kind of thing that they have on the freeway?
So variable means you're changing the speed on the sign. What does
Or
it
the
mean?
message?
So does this mean we're going to change the speed?
Not
Yeah,
the speed,
VMS
the
means
message to say there's an upcoming slow area.
So we'd have to use it. I think this actually came up in one of your discussions. I don't remember that this was one that we had, maybe it is one that we had put up on here. Maybe it was a citizen suggestion. But the way that I would see it, I don't know that we would necessarily vary the message, but it's one that it's more than just flashing up, or it's more than just the standard reduce speed ahead sign. It's the light
flashing speed sign right where the arch is.
with some words on it. We'd have to determine exactly what we're going to say. You are entering the downtown Provo Mall.
So would this be at 600 West?
That's where I would
So
say
it would be in advance
of,
upcoming
yeah.
speed reduction.
I think if VMS is used solely for slow speed ahead, it's kind of waste of money. It can be cheaper, 50 miles speed ahead sign at 600 west gives the same, I'm sure, same impact on drivers.
Right. If you're only going to have a single message, a static sign would make sense.
Right.
If you're going to do now, some of these variable messages, I'm imagining this being something kind of like what you get on the freeway, that occasionally they'll, like on May the 4th, they'll do some sort of a Star Wars slow down message, or and those kinds of perhaps humorous or clever signs, messages that say the same thing that are variable. It might be worth it. But if you're not going to vary the message, then a static sign is all you need.
Right.
Okay, let me change this. Do we want it? I think none of us want the variable message sign. Do we want to? It's getting our attention that the speed is changing. This is like, they flash and they tell us there's a stop ahead, or I don't know how you do it. Speed change.
don't-
The same way. Can you use that, a flashing sign that there's a speed change, or?
Yeah. Yeah, we could put in there saying, there's
So
nothing
that's the
coming.
question. Do we want to do something to
reduction.
bring more attention to the speed limit change, like a flashing sign, speed ahead? Just be a static message, but there's some movement to it. Yes or no? Or do we just say, well,
So
everyone, I'm hearing -2s here.
I don't like the idea. It's too much clutter.
Visual clutter, start,
It's
yeah.
visual
Yeah.
clutter.
Okay, it sounds like we're a -2 on this one.
And then Jevin, you have a question.
well,
or-
I don't think it's harmful to pedestrians, but I don't know how helpful it is either.
Yeah.
I mean,
Zero, Mara, you're a
I
zero?
would go with a 0 myself. With everything else we have, I don't know that
You're already
it
a comma,
helps.
so this is just from a pedestrian's point of view, so. Zeros? I'm okay with zero.
Mm.
Jevin, jump in.
Yeah,
What did
I
you-
was just gonna say that I think if we were having, so we have the existing PED signal at 6 West and Center Street, and if we are adding more to it, that's gonna be flashing or doing something else to alert the drivers, I would be wary of having too many things attached to the same pole or something, trying to do 2 messages at the same time. Because I would hope that if someone's using it across the street there, that when that is flashing, people know what that's for, rather than having 2 different messages kind of happening at that same place.
Yeah, too much driver distraction becomes counterproductive.
It would seem at some point you're almost crossing the line of all these signs saying, no, really, we mean it, please stop, no, please, we beg you. I mean, it's just like, to what point do you get so much there that it's like, yeah, just over.
You don't notice it anymore.
After you've told your kid the 3rd time, they're just ignoring you.
But let me ask this question, Rob. So are any of these things that are listed, would they be, okay, they've served their purpose, we accomplished the goal, or are these just things that we do, they're just always there? Is there anything that like,
We change
okay,
behavior and then
was
take them out.
changed, but now there's always just a new crop of people? I mean, because the police will tell you they can do citations out here all day long, like forever, and it's just not going to change behavior because, but yet that's almost kind of frustrating or discouraging. That's like, really? They'll just never change behavior. So just what's the balance there between, because some of these things are not necessarily over the top, but some of it is just like, there's a lot going on and you want to change behavior, but at the same time you don't.
Yeah, well, we're definitely, I mean, if you're asking me as a traffic engineer, I would not put too many of these things up there. I mean, the intent of putting all these things on the list and saying these are options is not, I mean, we are not.
Yes, right.
We will give our input kind of as this moves along and we see which direction we're going. We can give our input on, well, hold on, we're trying to do too much at the same time. Any of these things that we have on here, though, I would suggest that if we're going to do these, then we pick the ones that this is the thing that we're going to do and leave in place. intending that this is the, this is the solution. So we can try things out on a temporary basis. We're purchasing
What's
things
effective,
right
what's
now.
not.
Yeah, so we can test some of these things. But once we decide we're putting in the final one, I would just,
Be prepared that that's what's going to be.
that's what it is what I would suggest is the intent moving forward.
This next one, I don't know what it is. Can you explain it to us?
Yeah.
It looks like we're using parking spots to do something with planters to do something to the sidewalk. I'm not sure what interim, I guess we're trying to widen the sidewalks. I'm not sure what this one is.
So, sorry, were you gonna answer? So this is one that that has been suggestions, I think a couple of times from different groups, but it is just more for creating more public space instead of it just being a sidewalk, to create areas that are little sit down areas, little parklets. We could do it in I guess we could take the planter strips, open it up, take out the planter strip area, pave that and put in a little sit down area. Or we could take some of the parking spots, use up some of the parking spot space, and put in a little sit down area, a little parklet area. Different things have been suggested.
So
Different of those. So they all have pluses and
during
minuses.
COVID and other times, if you traveled around and not you have to go extensively, even in Park City and some other places, communities were doing outside dining, and rather than using the sidewalk, they used the parking strip, the parking stalls themselves. None of them were permanent. They were all kind of temporary. Some of it were done with bollards, planters, a raised platform, a fence. And some of that was COVID, and some of it was just, no, we want more people out on the street to activate the street. So two different things happening there, but some of it being the same application of either planters, whatever. And so that.
So, I mean, essentially
So
what
the
you would
idea
do
is
is
that you
just
shut
take.
the sidewalk out, like maybe
or some
take,
barrier.
so you take 2 parking stalls, and the sidewalk essentially goes out to the end of the stalls, so the crosswalk is now shorter, and you've increased the visibility of the drivers into the pedestrians entering the crosswalk. I mean, you're talking about usability.
Yes.
I get that. There's a little spot now for people to hang out, but I'm now thinking from the safety aspect. So as I'm on the road driving, I actually see this little piece of sidewalk coming out. It's not just 2 cars right next to the sidewalk. There's more room there, so I see people enter the sidewalk better. So is that the way? I'm onto the sidewalk faster as a pedestrian because I brought the sidewalk out, and drivers have more visibility. Is that how it impacts the safety?
I don't know if this is so much as a pedestrian thing,
And
as more of a.
Well, the reason this is its impact on pedestrian
Oh, okay.
safety. So I'm trying to figure out, does this have an impact on pedestrian safety?
I think it's a good question.
so it depends on how you do it, because the ones that we have right now, right, there's openings at our mid-block crossings, even a lot, as you get close to some of our intersection crossings, we do have those, right? It goes out for the parking and everything, but then the sidewalk comes closer together, and you're just crossing the width of the 2 lanes. And so that's what we have. So it kind of depends on exactly how it's done, because in some of the places, if we opened it up for these parklet areas, and there was, depending on what you put down, if it was just benches and stuff, you could have greater visibility. Right now we have it to where they're coming out, but there's a lot of vegetation. Depending on exactly how the vegetation is done, it can make it to where it's harder to see the pedestrians at those locations. So,
As we're talking,
yes, but it depends on exactly how we do it.
So it sounds like it's probably a 0, maybe a 1. But
Yeah, I
likely
think
you're
more of
persuaded me it's a 0. This is not the reason this is being done.
no, it's not. I don't even see it as being for a crosswalk, but I see it as for making the area more of a destination, particularly in summer, with maybe tables that have umbrellas or whatever for the restaurants to serve outside. That actually, I think, might impede some pedestrian traffic, or there might be pedestrian server collisions depending on whether you have to cross the pedestrian sidewalk in order to get to the tables. So at best a 0. I think, as far as pedestrian safety.
I propose a 0. Anybody want to change that?
If you look at it strictly from a pedestrian standpoint, it maybe is a 0, but I frankly like the idea and don't want it to get lost.
Well, there's other columns.
Yeah, there's other columns, there's
Really
aesthetics.
high on the-
Yeah, I think you guys have one for aesthetics and one for the overall
Yeah.
destination
Well,
feel of
really
it.
Yeah,
So there's
the
other ways to-
commercial stuff. So I don't think we should throw it away.
That's
But
what a pedestrian is. Is a pedestrian someone who is simply walking along the way and has no destination? Or is a pedestrian someone that is on foot to buy, shop, eat? And if that's the case, then I think pedestrian safety is enhanced by these things because they're sitting down, they're being served, they're enjoying it. So personally, I could live with a 0, but I prefer a 1. And from an aesthetic standpoint, I'll push for a 2.
Okay, so let me run with your 1. You're a driver and you're driving down the road and all of these things are coming out. It will feel more like a pedestrian mall. It's moving towards it
Right.
because we're bringing the sidewalks, we're bringing the
That's
people.
my point.
And that will slow traffic down. It will change, it'll move us towards that pedestrian.
It creates a pedestrian environment. That's why I move.
Okay, so how about a proposal of 1 for this?
Yeah,
And,
I would give 1 too.
did we lose,
More space for pedestrians.
Laurie had to jump off.
so 3 is a quorum, so we can
3 is-
keep going?
yeah.
I give 1.
Okay, 1 for that one.
And you're not making any official recommendations today, so you're good.
Robert. If that's
Yes,
something
yeah.
that committee would want to look more into, I could dive more into that. I've heard some seminars talking about parklets and the pros and cons to that, and I could definitely reach out to these other cities that have had more experience with that and get back to you guys on that if that's something that would interest you.
I think that would be great along the street if the businesses will go that way.
And in addition to what Gavin can look into, again, we are purchasing, Public Works is purchasing things to be able to try. I mean, even when we talk about parks, we could, I don't know, we'll have everything for a park, but we can give stuff to try this out, to cordon off an area, try it out and say, how does this feel?
Yeah, and when Austin was here, he and we were kind of just playing with the idea of kind of a self-leveling, just small platform that could be quickly installed.
Right.
And,
Yeah, when we were doing University Avenue, we tried to get the business owners to eliminate parking, and we didn't get there. But we realized that we could fill those parking stalls with this. Now, University's a faster road, a lot more traffic. But here, that solution we were exploring, I think that's a really good fit
yeah,
here.
if you think about Park City's Main Street in the summertime, they do this all the time. And it's just basically an extension, and it makes it a really cool environment.
Okay. Okay, a signal at 400 West and
If there's enough demand.
yeah, I don't know as if is the thought here, well, why is this one on here? Does anybody know?
So there's 2 things that if we are purposely trying to push people onto First
You
North,
stop them 5 times.
we can
or
stop them 1 more time. And then it gives pedestrians
One
another
more
place,
signal.
when people are stopped
Cross.
and
Okay.
they push a button.
2 more signals.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of YouTube play. One of our employees was actually almost hit in the crosswalk on 4th West, wearing crutches or using crutches
Yeah.
when it was raining.
So the idea is to put in a signal not for cars, not because we have a warrant for cars, but to put another protected pedestrian crossing.
Yep.
And to
Actually,
And
on
they
both
did
sides
added-
of the road.
And the added benefit is that it makes it a little bit harder to get down Center Street, so people will want to use First North. It's an option. we
And
can
I don't
look
think it doesn't discourage you from coming to the downtown area, but it does discourage you from using it
at as a through, yeah.
More friction.
Yep.
Okay, does everybody understand that one? Okay, I'm a 2.
2.
Mid-Sam?
You mean the install signal at 400 West?
Yeah, it's putting 2 more signals. One
No,
at
I would put
west and
0.
400 west. And they're there
I
for
would put
pedestrian
zero.
crossing.
I mean, putting in signals, if not warranted, it's not good unless you have specific reason to make the flow smooth, for example.
Well, the specific reasons here are to get 4 more protected crosswalks and to encourage traffic to not use it as a pass-through, but as a destination. We're trying to change driver behavior and put in more protected crosswalks for our pedestrians.
Well, if it's coordinated and then the vehicle doesn't stop too often, then it might. But
You will coordinate it, right?
I wouldn't give a high point on this one. I would have rather put more points on the Hawk pedestrian signal. Because unless the driver pedestrian will be there.
Yeah, and you guys can, you know, it's definitely up to you to put whatever points you want on there. But yeah, the intent is the exact opposite. The intent is to make it less, you know, more stops, less coordinated to where you're going there because you want to be there and not going there because you want to go through it. It would, yeah, this would be because typically, Mitsu, you're exactly right. We wouldn't put signals where they're not warranted because if you're just pushing it onto other streets. Well, here we want to push people off onto other streets, and so that's why that's what we're saying. We could do this. It's an option.
Okay, Saito, what number do you want? And then we'll just average it.
0.
Okay, so a 2, 2, and a 0. So that's 1.33.
Okay, the next one, I don't understand.
Okay, so this is to take out the angle parking, convert it to parallel, and use that extra space to put in a bike lane. A protected bike lane.
Oh, so instead of diagonal, make it
Yeah, because there's no way we're going to put a bicycle lane behind diagonal parking.
parking. Yeah, okay.
So we would, so from a pedestrian safety point of view, I guess this is also other modes of
This
transportation,
is
all
for
right?
bike.
Well, we don't have our commuter here. Do we have any?
Dixon.
I ride down Center Street because I ride offensively, not defensively.
Okay, so so we need somebody that rides a bicycle here. Would this improve things? Having bicycles on the street is helpful to pedestrians because bicycles slow the traffic down. But it's only if the bicyclists are going to go there.
I don't think the average cyclist is going to use Center Street. I mean, only because there's no great options to use. I mean, the average cyclist, right? That would be my take on it.
I'm also a cyclist, and I agree. I think any impact would be very indirect. So I really don't think this directly affects pedestrian safety. This particular feature.
Okay, so zeros then? Yeah. I don't know what a hawk pedestrian signal is.
That's the overhead. So if you've been through the 100 South, now that they've finished up 500 West, it's that signal. It's an overhead, push button.
But just for the crosswalk.
Just for pedestrians.
Yeah. Pedestrian.
Yeah. It doesn't stop traffic.
They have one of those in Moab, right?
They have one on 6 West and
6 West and Center Street. Yeah, it doesn't.
Both corners of that park.
So the intent is that the car will, the car is supposed to stop, but it's not a full, red, yellow, green. It's just a flashing.
So this would give us pedestrian safety, but not another stop for cars unless there's pedestrians.
Right. Yeah, this is right. Okay.
So we'll choose one or the other. So I think on this one, if we don't do the other, I'd be a. Okay, so hawk pedestrian signal is just there's a ped button, you push it, the light goes red. But it's not a traffic control device unless there's a pedestrian there.
Here's fine.
Mitsu?
2. Yeah, 2.
Okay, so I think it's 2 on that one. I don't, okay, tell us what a chicane is.
Chicane is where you'd have them offset. Our new standard is bulb outs, and actually Center Street kind of does that same thing where it bulbs out at the intersection, in the same location, creates the restricted area in there. Chicane is more, you're kind of pushing a little bit back and forth.
So you
Becomes a little
so
bit
you force
serpentine.
the drivers to do
It's not a
straight through, so
it's
again, it calms
a
the
little bit
traffic.
of a weave. Yeah.
And so that would be at all crossings?
The-
Or just-
We don't have a hard definition of here's exactly how we do it. I can't.
What does it do is there any downside to it from an automotive safety?
From an automotive,
Does it just calm the traffic?
it calms the
That's
traffic.
it?
We just have to make sure, and at 50 miles an hour, if we're doing all these other things to really get people down, there's not a huge sight distance. We just have to make sure that now that it's not straight, that we're taking care of sight lines and all that kind of stuff. But no, I mean, we figure that into whatever design we did.
But likely, if we were installing this, it would go to one lane, though, right?
So
I mean, to have the
Or-
maneuverability to
Or
do that.
be taking out a substantial amount of parking. So there's
Right.
definitely downsides to it in terms of the overall. There's the pros and cons, but
But from a pedestrian point of view, it slows the traffic down near the crosswalks, which improves safety.
it is
Okay.
intended for slowing
It's
traffic.
definitely-
Yeah.
Okay, so
um,
that's it?
the question is, if you try to put the chicanes on Center Street, you have 2 lanes for automobiles at this moment. The idea of a chicane is to sticking out parts of the street to slow down. That means the number of lanes is reduced in a way. Can it be done?
Well, so
in the residential areas, a chicane might work, but it's kind of, Center Street area, I'm not sure.
So this is not one that Public Works has thrown on. This is a as you guys, as we told you, this is all the suggestions that we've gotten. So yeah, so it is more typical on a 1 lane each way. We could make we could potentially make it work with the 2 lanes each
Can
way,
you
but it
think
would
of
take
an-
out
Can you think of
Probably
an
most of the
example
parking.
anywhere where they did this in a street like Center Street?
We have
where
some,
right now it's a 2 lane. I don't know of places where they've done.
we
places
have
where
some
they've done chicanes.
older examples of some drawings where they actually superimpose some chicanes on Center Street. And so we could send you those and see how you can see how it would look, but we don't have any data on how that would operate or.
Okay, Jim, what do you say?
Because the uncertainty is what it is, I go for 0.
It's it?
-1.
Yeah, I don't see this working.
Yeah,
So say 0, I guess.
Okay.
yeah, 0 is fine.
Oh, this is a big deal. This is every time I go to Center Street. For me, this one's a 2. Because at least if we're gonna keep that parking in the middle, you get out of your car and then where do I go?
Agreed.
Yeah,
This is a huge pedestrian issue. So you're forced, do I cross right here? Or do I navigate my way through all of the bumpy? It's a,
can this be combined with the pedestrian, mid-block pedestrian walkway?
Well, I think for
Because
evaluation
you park
purposes,
in
you
the-
want to-
In the center of the street parking area, if there's a pedestrian walkway in the mid-block walkway, I will walk to either to the intersection or mid-block pedestrian crosswalk. So I'm not sure if you need extra median walkway for center parking areas.
well, how do you get from your car to the crosswalk right now?
Just cross the street.
Exactly, so we have a pedestrian safety issue.
Just be careful. Just be careful.
Which is legal.
Yeah, it is legal.
Because,
Go ahead,
it
Dave.
may not be safe or wise, but it is legal. It's not jaywalking.
I don't know how you solve it, because there's not, I don't know if there's enough room in there, but this is definitely a safety issue.
But if there's in the what do you call the medium part, if there's enough space, like 3 feet, or to walk from your parking spot to walk to the intersection or mid block pedestrian crosswalk, then I will take that route because I know it's safer rather
David?
than just crossing.
So I've wondered this myself. I'm with you, David, that you go downtown, you park there in the middle, and the only space that's there is all full of plants, and it looks nice, but it's really uncomfortable to try to either run across the street, across 2 lanes of busy traffic, or kind of hug the bumpers to get over to the crosswalk. And I was trying to think, like, what was going through people's minds when they designed this. And when it wasn't until years later that I learned that Center Street is a pedestrian mall, and all of a sudden it made sense that, there's no sidewalks here because you're not supposed to have to get to a crosswalk to cross the street. It's supposed to be an environment where people, it's a pedestrian mall. Pedestrians should feel comfortable kind of crossing whenever, wherever kind of thing. And I totally agree that right now, with the current nature and the current use, the current flow, the current atmosphere in Center Street, it absolutely doesn't make sense. But potentially, and I'm not going to try to push you one way or another, but just potentially, if we get to the point where this is functioning like a pedestrian mall, not just designated as a pedestrian mall, but actually functions as it, maybe it's better to leave those plants there and the trees there rather than, because if these things are successful, maybe we get to the point where people are quite comfortable just crossing after they park.
If constructing the median parkway means removing the landscaping, I don't want that.
There's probably no other choice. The tree, and that's where you have to. So.
I mean, the other option would be to just remove the center parking. You can get more space that way.
It's going to hurt business, potentially.
Well, because to David's point, it's like it was designed like it was a parking lot.
Right. Yeah.
Right, but it's not functioning as a parking lot.
Right.
So.
But even in a parking lot, you always wonder, how exactly do you get to the front of the store if you're parked out here in the middle of nowhere?
So how do we answer it? Right now, we have a huge safety issue. This might. So if we have another one for aesthetics, we could put a -2 on it.
You can. This is just your column for pedestrian.
This is the safety. So I say we go with 2 here, and then we do a -2 over on the aesthetics. Okay.
Raised crosswalks at the mid-block crosswalks.
Okay. Just the raised crosswalk. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Pedestrian safety, I think it's a 2.
2. If you have raised pedestrian crosswalk up 500 west, that may have a similar effect as rumble strip in a way, because you have to slow down.
I'm not sure I have driven on a lot of these. So speed bumps are very annoying. They give you speed bumps give you a very negative impression of the area that you're visiting as a driver. I mean, that you don't want to go back.
Right.
Do these have the same impression or are they different? That's, but I get it. They do solve a pedestrian problem. So maybe this is aesthetic, but what does it do to the, are these like speed bumps or are they much softer and they're not as irritating to us as drivers?
Yeah, you can develop these to be, it's not gonna be the hard, the hard bump like when you're going through older parking lots.
Isn't it more like a?
It's like a tabletop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go
That's
up,
where
you
it's
stay
more
there
of
and
a
you go
ramp
down.
and then this abrupt.
I mean, in traffic talk, there's a difference between a speed bump and there's variations that are kind of all the same thing. Speed hump, speed table, raised crosswalk, use those same kind of design, but it's supposed to be, it's intended to be a much gentler. The intent is to raise up when you're doing the crosswalk, is to raise up the pedestrian, not to provide a hard bump for the vehicle.
So if you look up here,
Yeah.
David,
Right.
We
gradually.
have some up in Salt Lake next to an elementary school. Which is
And then
nice.
the other criticism is it's harder to get the snow off of them, right?
I'm looking at the Google Maps. I mean, Google
From a
Earth.
pedestrian point of view, I guess it's a 2, right?
From a climate change perspective, it won't be much snow.
I was gonna say, the amount of times they
Right.
have to plow.
It's gonna be a red issue.
I don't know where we'll all go.
That's another issue. Sustainability committee.
Yeah, that's right. So are we saying 2?
So Mitsa, proposal?
Yeah, that's two.
Okay, so 2.
My another comment is that I'm looking at the Google Earth now, and between 400 west and 500 west, and there's this mid-block what do you call the pedestrian flat crosswalk with bricks, and actually in the median there's a concrete block in the way of 2 foot wide, except where the tree is. So in a way, this is the pedestrian walk, I guess. You park and then go to the front, go to the median and walk on this concrete path to get to the nearest pedestrian crossing, either mid-block or the intersection.
But it's not raised though on where the road is.
At this moment, it's not raised.
So this would just bring this up.
So there is a path for the drivers to walk.
See, was it raising the mid-block crossing as well?
Yeah, so this is a mid-block.
I think-
crossing.
I think
in the statement.
In the statement, it's mid-block.
I think he's talking about going back to the median walk. And yes, there are
I'm going back to
locations where-
median walk, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are locations that there is a walkway. There's a lot of locations where there's not a walkway. So you fix all of them to be the intent, I think, of this option is to make it to where all of Center Street has a walkway in the median where there's parallel parking, and that it would have to be at least 4 feet wide to meet ADA requirements. So, I mean, if we were going to do this, that's what I'd say. That's what you need to consider.
I guess one reaction on our 2 is when you look at that, that's like 10 mid-block tables. 10 of them we put in over a 5-block period. That might be a little excessive.
Yeah, so
But-
generally these.
but
would
generally
be
we like the idea.
streets. These would be more mid-block.
These are
That's-
mid-block. Right.
they
Oh,
would-
it's the
Yeah.
mid-block
So
crossing.
it's
Yeah.
just the mid.
Okay, so it's just
That's-
5 of them.
Yeah, that's what had been
Okay.
proposed.
All right, okay.
So we have about 7 more minutes left, 8 more minutes left. If you want to get through the rest of these.
Okay.
Median.
There's a lot of them. Okay, so this is putting a park strip along the middle for people and get rid of the parking.
Oh, yeah, that's good for pedestrians.
Why do they feel safe in crossing the street? To it. Right? Otherwise, it won't be used.
That's right.
I think it would have the impact of slowing traffic down if it was there. So I think it would improve pedestrian safety. So
Yeah.
should we do it 2? I think
Two.
this would improve pedestrian
From a safety
safety.
standpoint, yes. Two.
Yeah, two.
More pedestrians there are out in front of you, you slow down, right? Okay, convert all angle parking to parallel. We wouldn't want to make the roads wider because the speed will go up.
Convert
So,
all angle parking.
but I guess we could bring the sidewalks out and convert it to parallels. We make our sidewalks wider.
That's what the proposal is to
Bring the
leave
sidewalk
leave the
out.
lanes the same. Yeah,
Bring the
create
sidewalks out and convert to parallel parking.
create more dining recreation space, not more lane.
I don't know, what will that do to pedestrian?
Yeah,
I guess you'd see more pedestrians on your side if we have more people out on those sidewalks, eating and stuff.
It's the business owner saying, what about my parking for my business?
Yeah, that's another column, right? Do we have a column?
There's an impact to businesses.
There's an
Yeah.
impact
Okay.
to this column.
And the pedestrians, it's a 2.
So I think this is probably a 2, because I think your visibility, right now, that diagonal parking kind of gives you a block, a little bit more of a block from the pedestrians.
Right.
And the parallel parking is gonna give you that same, I got cars right next to me, so I think a 2. Mitsuo, what do you think?
2.
Okay,
Remove all parking for more dining. It's like Barcelona's Rambla area.
so this is putting a park strip,
Medium.
this is putting the park thing in the middle and getting rid of it and making the sidewalks bigger.
Yeah. This is just the step above the last one.
So I think this is a 2 too, from a
Yeah.
pedestrian safety point of view. Okay, raise the intersections, that means doing the same thing we're talking about at the mid-block?
Yeah, except we're talking about going across the entire. That was the proposal. Go across the entire intersection. The entire intersection straight up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, I think if I were thinking about it as pedestrians, it's a 2 again, but we can get crazy with this.
Well, it'll balance out, I think, in the other.
Yeah. The other columns
Right.
are there.
Yeah, okay, so 2,
Mm-hmm.
just with what we've all said. You can reduce this, reduce this
Okay.
with the university in 500.
Oh, so this is a proposal. This is not something that we brought to UDOT yet. So this is do we as a city want to approach
So
UDOT?
what is the logic that the speed limit on University changes the speed limit?
So that
Or
this
affects
is
the-
zero.
This is not our proposal.
I don't see the cause effect there.
I don't need it.
0?
0.
Yeah, at this moment, it's
Change the surface material.
Now, that's where I was going
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Correct.
and that's highly expensive though, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's on the list.
It's on the, we put every suggestion that we
Everything
received,
is on the list.
like we said at the beginning, we put every suggestion that we received, we put on
Well,
the list
I
so
know that
that
it's
y'all
good for
can consider.
pedestrians, because all of us that have been to Europe
It's
know what
That's
this
where I'm going.
does.
Go to a downtown plaza
And it just calms everything. So I'd say a 2.
and I say it too.
Getting rid of, ignoring the fact that it's hard on strollers and wheelchairs.
Right.
But from a pedestrian point of view, I'd say a 2.
So at this point, the
you mean
the only flat surface is the crosswalk.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure if I would give 2 to change the surface material on Center Street. It's nice, but I'm not sure that will help pedestrians, because pedestrians
Well,
at this
thinking
moment
is,
will not go through the paved area of the Center Street. To me, it's 0.
For the pedestrians?
Yeah, in terms of
So again,
pedestrians.
I think is when we go to Europe and areas where they have cobblestones on the street, you're safe as a pedestrian.
But there's a traffic there, right?
Yeah, I can think of a number of places I've been in Europe that are these pedestrian malls. They have cobblestones everywhere. They have cars. It's kind of like a parking lot and throughways, and I've never felt unsafe. Because it just,
I'm not sure.
different feel, you just,
Different feel where, changing the materials for intersections and mid-block, but I'm not sure changing the street where pedestrian can't even walk at this moment.
okay, so what's your score?
0.
Okay, 1.33.
1.33.
We got it figured out already.
Okay.
We got 7 minutes left, so
Block
traffic, so this
traffic
means
from
close
every-
off Center Street. Or what is this?
Close it off
From 100 to 400?
Well, the north at is this one. This is at
Entering.
from entering at. So you can't
Okay.
get Center Street from 400.
Okay, so one side of 100 West is already blocked. 'Cause there's a
Correct.
building.
and at
Yeah,
400,
100.
right?
And
Yeah.
We're blocking,
Yes,
yeah, we're
blocking the
blocking
other
off
side.
right here, we block out 400 West.
So what do we do with the street that ends there?
So you could come in and you could park,
And then you U-turn out?
and then you'd back out and go back
Or
north.
to do some kind of a hammer.
We'd have to put something in there.
So it becomes extra parking?
Well, there's parking.
Well, there's parking
No,
now.
on 100 and 400.
But I don't think so, because there's parking on both sides, and you'd have to leave the lanes open
There's only
anyways to
enough
get in
to
and
do the
out. Yeah.
U-turn.
Yeah.
Parking now, right?
So I don't know that it would add parking. It would just make it to where two less entry points for cars to get on.
How much traffic
Century.
comes in off of those two approaches? Enough to make a difference?
Not very much. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but not very much.
Yeah.
Well, if it doesn't change the amount of traffic, then it's not gonna.
They get to explore that one for a bit to see, yeah.
Say 0. Needs more examination.
Can we just put a question mark there?
Sure.
I'd have to be convinced that it dropped the volume of traffic on Center Street enough to, or that there's enough conflicts on the turns or something for pedestrian safety. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like this is the, in the scheme of things, gonna do much.
Yeah, the two things is it would, slightly cut down on traffic. I'll have to get you the numbers. I'll get you the numbers by next meeting, how many, we'll do a study to see how much are coming in. And then the other thing, like you're saying too, is that it is reducing anybody who's turning off onto those streets, doing a right-hand turn.
Yeah, it
Like,
just,
that eliminates that.
So it doesn't get the
pedestrian.
traffic off the road.
It's gotta-
Wait, it doesn't get them off the
It
road.
has to stay another block before it can get
Right.
off, so it's probably a wash.
It might.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dave. Dave
Yeah.
Harding.
Thank you. I don't know if I was the one that requested this or suggested it, or if it was something else, but I think I can see two things. I think you actually could do some mid-block parking. So I do think, because that becomes now a parking lot, just a public parking lot right there. And then the other thing is, if right now we have a crosswalk and people can drive through it, can turn across it or whatever. If that traffic is blocked, it becomes just an extension of, just becomes a longer block. You have one less point where you have potential conflict with vehicles, one less place that you have to push a button and wait for it to turn green. You can just walk straight across it. So that was I think the idea behind that one.
so is that
I'm
still
with
a
Jim, I
question?
just don't know.
So it's
Right.
2.
Leave a question mark and have them come back.
Okay.
I think I would look for some direction from traffic to tell us what it could do.
How much volume?
Well,
Yeah.
and if you can find, because that's where I was going, if we could get more parking there, but you're saying.
I guess
on the Center
what
Street
what
side.
David, so I'll look in on those actual streets, but I think, yeah, what David was saying too was a good point, is that now, because nobody's gonna be coming in and off those streets, we could continue the median parking on Center Street across that intersection.
No, there's no turn.
There's
So
no turn.
if you're
So-
eliminating this,
So that does do some.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if you're just having this eliminated here. then-
Well, that was too complicated for us to wrap our minds around. So, David
Okay.
just stumped us.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay, remove one lane of traffic each direction.
For safety, yes.
Yeah, for safety.
Yeah.
I think it's a 2 for pedestrians.
Yeah, whether it can be done, separate issue.
Allows other things to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, this meant 100 north at 500 west, right? It's not north.
Yeah.
500 north.
500 West.
So this last one is just rerouting the.
Yeah, and so
Right.
2 turns to get on 100 North, that's you realign the roads that's where you're directed.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Mean a curve,
Yeah, like we'd have to
Like-
Potentially,
take out the grocery
Take out
store.
blocks,
or whatever,
yeah.
something.
potentially.
potentially, yeah.
Oh, it's a 2 for.
It's a 2 for pedestrians, but I don't know about development. Really close.
That might get
that-
canceled
that
out
would be
later.
an idea.
It's a 2, but there may not be a Center Street anymore to visit.
So that one was a 2-2. Okay. Congratulations, you did
We got
that.
one column, 4 columns to go.
That's awesome.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll put this on the agenda again next month. If you have other suggestions for the agenda, let us know. And then again,
I think I've been here at all. Is Jarvis? Is it Jarvis?
Javin.
Javin. Is he reported back on the scooter?
He has that information. We can have him.
Could you do that next time?
Yep. We will be happy to do that. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.